Welcome to our channel. I hope you enjoy this review of our 2020 gardening results.
Hey everybody, welcome to Yellow Dog Farm.
We had so much fun gardening this year that we'd like to share all the steps we went through with you, all the way from what we wanted to accomplish, what we intended to plan, how that all worked out, those hard-learned lessons that we're going to take and shape into planning what happens next year, and finally we'll take also a look at what's going to go into the fall garden. So if you could like this video and subscribe to our channel, it'd be amazing. Thank you so much. Our goal for this year was to, first of all, just grow really high quality stuff that we think others might want. So that takes some scaling up of our family garden to be able to grow the volume that others will want. We also are a very small farm here, so we know that we can't spend a lot of time at farmers markets selling our products. We just don't quite have the volume. So one of our ideas is to also grow those things that we can preserve, such as dehydrated herbs, loofahs that are ready for sale later on, salsa, pickles, that kind of thing. And then really our goal is to take what we think everybody is interested in and then understanding what everyone really prefers. We live in the state of South Carolina near Charleston. It's quite warm here in the southeastern United States. We have a very early spring and we go very late into the year growing, so those shoulder seasons are really good for us. About 200 days of growing time here, so we're very lucky to be able to take advantage of that and grow a wide variety of crops. The biggest challenge is that the middle of summer is very difficult for many crops. Now the things that we did to prepare was to install many additional raised beds. We built 6 additional raised beds to get to 10. We put in an irrigation system for those beds, and then we set up a compost system so we could generate enough compost to fill all of them. And then of course we got ready with some indoor germination techniques with grow lights and whatnot. Here's a look at the actual planting schedule that we put together in January of this year. The negative number is how many weeks prior to the last frost date we needed to put those plants into seed trays inside. Well, let's take a look at the results of all those months of work. Here's just a quick list of all the produce that we grew and then how they did with a really fancy rating system. The loofah did fine. Not great, not horrible. Lettuce did really well. We just need to accommodate its cool temperatures that are required. The herbs just did awesome. We had 2 dehydrators running 24/7 all season long. The cucumbers were amazing with 160 pounds of cucumbers in just 2 raised beds. I wish our results with the peppers were just as good, but we got way too late of a start and had very poor germination. So the bell peppers were a total bust, and the jalapenos, although with a late start, did really well. Tomatoes were awful. We got some bacteria diseases and just had to give up on them halfway through the season. Now the corn and watermelon, they did so well. We are very, very pleased with the results there. So overall, we did really well. You can see once again with this very fancy rating system that the vast majority of everything that we planted did either really well or okay, and there were very few things where we were disappointed with the results. So overall, we're very happy with everything that we chose to plant and have no real complaints, really just things that we learned along the way. I'm an engineer, so I love to just calculate how many plants I'll need and plant that exact amount of seeds. Well, that's just not the way it works. I learned that I need to plant 2 to 3 times the amount of seeds for the plants that I desire. So I wish I was that good at germinating plants, but I'm not. So that was my first lesson learned. I found that the tomatoes and peppers just didn't germinate well because they needed additional heat. So next time around, I'll be adding heating pads when I sow all those seeds so they'll germinate nicely. Succession planting was a real lesson learned. You're way better off planting a smaller amount over this time span of several weeks so that your crop doesn't mature all at the same time. It really turns something from a very long, enjoyable crop to something that just really becomes wasteful and can't be dealt with very well. So a real lesson learned here. I think alternating the planting every 2 weeks is a really good time period, and then if you can synchronize all your different crops so they're not all maturing at the same time, it's an added benefit. Of course, there's always Mother Nature out there that can change all our well-laid plans. I can't emphasize how important it is to use the right weed matting. If you're going to grow any type of a vine area with watermelon, cantaloupe, that kind of thing, you really need one to keep the weeds suppressed. Also, an irrigation system is just amazing. If you use a drip system, it really minimizes fungus here in the Southeast. I learned the hard way that you really need to amend your soil when you've finished growing one crop and you're ready to move on to another. I chose not to amend the soil when I planted tomatoes and believe that that's what really drove the issues I had with bacterial wilt. The soil was just not up to par and couldn't fend off the pests and bacteria that came into the raised garden. I'd also emphasize plant spacing. They always look so small when you plant them, but you really need to make sure there's enough room when they mature. Finally, as I think back to the very beginning of the year, when I started seeding all of the different seed trays, I learned that I've got to have heat mats in order to germinate those warm weather crops of peppers and tomatoes. Don't skip this step. Well, it's fall right now, and I'm really excited to get some garlic in the ground, and I also have some onion sets that are on order that I'll plant this November. So we're really excited to see how those do over the winter. We're also going to plant 4 raised beds. We're going to use 2 different types of lettuce, romaine, and a leaf lettuce. Also, we're going to grow some dill and some parsley and see how those do. They're very cold tolerant plants, so that's the idea of planting them as we go on. Of course, we're going to expand our raised beds. We're going to try and double the amount from 10 to 20, so we'll be able to grow even more crops, those ones that everyone wanted. And of course, we'll expand all the things that go along with that, the irrigation system, and then really, we're going to make sure that we can germinate everything as we move forward. Well, as we think ahead to next year, the only things that we're going to add to the garden are those things that we wished we had planted for ourselves and that we didn't. So of course that comes along with potatoes, sweet potatoes. We did so well with the watermelon that we thought we'd add another warm crop with the cantaloupe, and then also green onion for our salads. Now the things that we're going to increase, those are really related to what worked well for all of our farm customers. So that includes cucumbers, radish, watermelon, corn. They did really well, so we're going to go ahead and expand those for the upcoming crop season. Well, there are definitely some things that we're going to change up for next year. We're going to change the variety of tomatoes we grow to something that's more hardy. We're going to add shading, either with some type of a mesh or some other structured system. We're going to increase spacing of the plants so they're not so crowded, and we're going to focus on some pest control. It's something that we just didn't do very well this year. Well, there you go. That's our season in a nutshell, all the way from the goals of what we wanted to accomplish, how we planned it out, and then really our lessons learned for next year. So thank you so much for watching.